Okay, you should be able to see them. Susanna,
Yes.
can we proceed? The last question I think we had was the one left over for Pär from the previous session. I don't know if there is sufficient time. I've typed here everything that we have received until now.
Yes. Pär, could you answer this question now, or do you prefer to follow up after the meeting by email directly?
Well, I can try to answer now.
Okay.
If this question regarding the design data and the real EPC, normally there is a provisional EPC issued when the building is built, when you don't have the measured energy use, and that can also be the case if the building is uninhabited, for instance. Yes, I think it is in agreement with the EPBD
Okay.
framework.
Okay, thank you very much. Then we come to the next two questions, next three questions for Hubert. If local community reference codes are not unique identifiers for buildings, dwellings, can they be expanded as such? The next one is, could you please clarify the meaning of BPIE exploitables in Ademe statistics? Which EPCs are included in the statistics and which are not? And the next one is, I can only suppose that not all the EPC have been registered before the digital registration was established. Is this correct? Can one eventually assess how many EPCs are not part of the database? Please, Hubert, could you answer these questions?
Thank you. I maybe have not well explained what the local community reference code is. This is only a reference specific to the local community itself, and all buildings in that community are related to that code, and this allows for an extraction. But the code is not enough for identifying the buildings themselves, or buildings or dwellings. So we cannot expand these reference codes to buildings. They are not valid for the location of the community itself, but not for the building. Second question, what are the exploitable DPE? Well, that means the data is sufficient in the database to include the DPE in the statistics. Well, in practice, we have two main situations. The first one deals with the label itself. In our legislation, we have a special situation where you can have a label without any class, any energy performance index. We call it a virgin label, and of course, these are not used in the statistics. They are in the database, but they are not appearing in the statistics because they can't be on a scale from A to G. Second case is more commonly one missing information, a surface or a date of construction or heating type or whatever. And in that case, of course, the corresponding DPE is not included in the statistics online. I insist there are online statistics. That means everything is updated for each new incoming DPE or EPC. Last or third question, well, of course, EPCs are registered only since 2013, June 2013, and the scheme, the EPC scheme has started in September 2006, which means roughly 7 years, and we estimate, because this is a present rate, between 1 million and 1.5 million per year. So we are lacking around 7 to 10 million DPE or EPCs in the database.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question is for Michael. The EPC data, so excuse me, anything left? No. For Michael, the EPC data mapping looks very interesting. Are the plans for other ambitious applications? Are there plans for other ambitious applications in the future?
Yes. We have been discussing with SEAI to extend the EPC mapping application to the nationally. Also, it would be very good that we would have the maps would be able to compare year on year. What are the comparisons? So there can be visual tracking of the improvement, hopefully in the national performance. We are also currently involved in a competitive process which SEAI has launched here called a Small Business Innovation Research Funding Mechanism. And here they're inviting third parties to develop new applications or to propose new applications that would exploit the EPC database to make the EPC data more accessible to the EPC, those who have certificates, to encourage additional energy retrofit and to assist in property transactions. So we are one of 3 parties that have been successful in the first phase of this, and so again, I imagine we will have some new interesting applications will come out of this.
Oh, thank you very much. This is very interesting news. So hopefully we will find information soon on the SAI website on that. So the next question is, what is the cost, say, for a 2-bed apartment for energy certificates across the EU? I would suggest, does anybody want to answer this question? No, not really. So it's difficult to answer because price levels are quite different. But there is some information in the Concerted Action 3 thematic report on certification. So I would suggest to go to the website of the EPPD, Concerted Action. Look under outcomes 2011 to 2015 and check for the thematic report on CT1 certification. There will be more information on that. Then another question for all. We have built a software platform that auto-compares actual energy consumption against the rated energy consumption and have found significant differences between the energy used and that predicted. What are the key reasons for this? Anybody wants to answer this?
Well, Susanna, I can try to answer this. We did a study within the QUALICHeCK framework where we compare different single-family buildings with the calculated energy use and what was then actually the performance, the measured energy use after 2 years. And we also saw these differences. They were quite large for some buildings and smaller for other buildings. But I think that you can expect at least a 10% deviation based on, for instance, the use of the buildings by the occupants, how they open their windows, how they use the electrical appliances, and so on. So it's a lot of different aspects that can influence the difference between the measured, I guess, and the actual performance that the question is about. But there will be a more thorough report published hopefully during early autumn within the QUALICHeCK. So we will come back to that in this report, I think.
Yes. Thank you very much. I think this is a very good hint that QUALICHeCK also deals with quality of input data. So quality of input data, of course, has to do with this question. Among others, the use of default data or so-called standard input data versus specific input data, and of course also the standard user profiles which are used for calculation or let's say the user behavior. So there are many reasons for that. Do we have another question, or was that all for now?
I believe that is all for now.
That is all for now. So I think we can start with the closing round. I would like to invite my speakers. Would you like to make a kind of conclusive statement regarding how to make the best use of EPC databases? What is the most important aspect in your opinion?
Maybe I can start first.
Yes, please.
Okay, so maybe I will just give a remark, because there are many things that could be listed here. And just to come back to the main purpose of the EPC as an information tool for the consumer, I wish that somewhere in the near future, this EPCs will be a really useful tool to really show more than only a standardized recommendation, but a really concrete and practical help for the building owners to perform renovation, kind of building passport that will be a repository of information. Because if this is really used, and then the rest will follow, it will be then of the better quality, and then I'm sure we can get a better use of the information in the databases.
Okay, thank you, Aleksandra. Anybody else? If there is
yes.
no, yes,
yes, Hubert here. Just I would like to propose an answer to the question of price of EPC. At least in France, it would cost about 150 euros for an EPC for an apartment. Other aspects I haven't mentioned at all because it was not asked at the beginning. We also have projects of mapping applications, and we think that many people would like to be able to have on their smartphone an idea of the quality of the surrounding buildings or homes or dwellings when they are looking for a house or for rent or for sale. And well, that's about it. But we think there are development ongoing to be able to correct either asset or operational rating to help the user to understand why the figures are most of the time different.
Okay, so
we've lost apparently Susanne for the moment. I hope that she can join in again. In the meantime, may I ask if somebody else wants to give a closing comment on what Susanne asked earlier about what you consider really important in respect to the EPC approach?
Yeah, well, I can try to fill into what Hubert said, that in Sweden, EPC normally costs from 200 euros for a single family building and upwards. And also concerning the use of the EPC database, I think what Michael showed is really interesting, that you can use the database as a visualization source to give the possibility to do a benchmark for the house owner, how to reach a better EPC maybe without doing too much investments. So that could be more work done to make more clear benchmarks, I think, for the house owners.
Yes, I can add to that. I said we're involved in this tender process at the moment, so I need to be a little bit careful. But we're developing a lot of work along these lines. We're actually going to build typologies also into the mapping application for people who do not already have an EPC, so that they click into their own area on the map. The most common types of dwellings will appear, plus recommended retrofit measures for those types. so we're using that. I really like the idea in Sweden where they're using the measured energy, and I think they do the same in Slovenia, because particularly for the poorest rated F and G rated, the operational, or sorry, the asset energy calculations are just way off compared to what is actually measured. And I know from other work we've done in EPISCOPE, this is a huge gap, I think, broadly in Europe, in terms of actually having good methodologies for recording measured energy use.
Michael, thank you for explaining. So I'm back again. The system kicked me out, so I was absent for a minute. I think we have to close the webinar.
Yes, unless there are any other closing remarks, I think we can.
Yes.
Here, if you want to say a few things.
I just want to say one closing remark. I think it is once more demonstrated that the EPCs create an enormous amount of data on the building stock, and we need this data urgently for different purposes. And I think what Michael showed in his presentations gives really a good outlook on what is possible, and a very good example. But it is also evident that data quality and EPC reliability is crucial if we want to make use of the data. And in fact, QUALICheCK makes a contribution to that. So it's about quality of input data. And I would like to invite everybody to visit our website for more information. So that was all from my side. I want to thank all the speakers very much for their contributions, and to you, Aleksandra, for closing the webinar.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. As noted, I think I didn't mention this at the start of the webinar, but all webinars are recorded, and in a couple of weeks they should be online in our website, QUALICheckplatform.eu. Thank you, everybody, and we'll close the webinar now.